The first sensation I felt was heat. It wasn't the comforting warmth of a sun-soaked day. It was suffocating and oppressive, wrapping around me like a thick, cloying blanket. As I blinked against the haze, my surroundings slowly came into focus. I was lying on cracked, parched ground, the color of dried blood. Shadows danced in the flickering light of crimson flames that licked at the edges of the landscape, casting twisted shapes that looked eerily human. My heart raced as I scrambled to my feet, scanning the horizon. I was in a place that felt alien and horrifying, a realm painted with the brushstrokes of despair. The sky above was a swirling mass of black clouds, punctuated by flashes of red lightning. I tried to recall how I had arrived here, but my mind was a jumbled mess of confusion and fear. "Welcome to hell," a voice boomed, sending a shiver down my spine. I turned sharply to see a figure emerging from the shadows. He was tall and gaunt, draped in a tattered cloak that seemed to absorb the light around him. His eyes glowed with a sinister intensity, and I could feel their weight pressing down on me like a physical force. Who are you?" I stammered, backing away instinctively. "I am Asmodai, a mere servant of this realm," he said, a cruel smile twisting his lips. "And you, my dear, are here because you've been chosen." "Chosen for what?" My voice trembled. "Chosen to be part of a rebellion," he replied, stepping closer. The heat intensified, and I could see that his skin was marred with scars, each one telling a tale of torment. "You see, the inhabitants of this hellscape are restless. They crave freedom from the tyranny of our master." I looked around, trying to make sense of his words. "What do you mean?" Asmodai gestured to the barren wasteland surrounding us. "This is a prison for souls like yours. It's a place where pain and suffering are the currency, and hope is a distant memory. But the tides are shifting. There are whispers among the damned, rumors of a rebellion rising against our overlord." "Rebellion," I echoed, the word feeling foreign on my tongue. "How can we fight against whatever this is?" "There is power in numbers," Asmodai said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "And you, my friend, have something we need, a spark of humanity that can ignite the flames of revolt. You are not like the others. You retain a flicker of hope." My mind raced. I didn't belong here. I was just an ordinary person, an accountant with a mundane life. How could I possibly be part of a rebellion in hell? Yet something deep within me stirred, a desire to resist, to escape this nightmare. "Join us," Asmodai urged, his eyes boring into mine. "Help us overthrow our master, and together we can reclaim our freedom." I hesitated, fear clawing at my insides. What would it mean to join a rebellion in a place like this? Would it only lead to more suffering? But the thought of remaining a pawn in someone else's game filled me with dread. I took a deep breath, steeling my resolve. "Okay," I said, surprising even myself with the strength of my voice. "I'll do it." Asmodai's smile widened, revealing sharp, gleaming teeth. "Excellent. You will need to learn the ways of this realm, the secrets that lie within its fiery depths. Follow me." With that, he turned and strode away, his cloak billowing behind him like a dark omen. I followed, my heart pounding as I took my first steps into a twisted new reality. The landscape twisted and morphed as we walked, the ground beneath my feet shifting from hot gravel to a squelching mire that threatened to swallow me whole. The air was thick with the stench of sulfur and something more putrid, a blend that made me gag. I fought the urge to retch as I kept pace with Asmodai, who moved with an eerie grace, as if he was part of the shadows themselves. "This way," he said, leading me toward a jagged cliff that jutted into the sky like a broken tooth. I could hear the distant sound of wailing, anguished cries that echoed off the walls of this hellish landscape. "Are those the souls?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Indeed," Asmodai replied, glancing back at me with an unsettling look. "They are the lost, trapped in an eternal cycle of despair. You'll learn to ignore their cries, or you'll go mad." I swallowed hard, the weight of the reality settling heavily on my chest. "What happens if I don't ignore them?" "Then you become one of them," he said flatly, continuing onward without a hint of remorse. We reached the edge of the cliff, and I looked down to see a vast expanse of what appeared to be a molten lake, bubbling and churning with fiery hues of orange and red. Surrounding it were twisted forms, creatures that looked half human, half nightmare, their faces contorted in eternal agony. "Welcome to the pit," Asmodai announced. "This is where the worst of us are punished, but it is also where the rebellion will begin." "Here," I exclaimed incredulous. "What can we possibly do in a place like this?" "There are many souls here who yearn for freedom," he said, his voice growing more passionate. "They are strong, and together we can rally them to our cause, but we must be careful. Our master has eyes everywhere." "Who is your master?" I asked, curiosity overriding my fear. Asmodai's expression darkened. "He is known by many names, but to us he is simply the Dark One. He thrives on chaos and suffering, and he will stop at nothing to maintain his grip on this realm. If he learns of our plans, he will unleash his wrath upon us." I nodded, feeling a chill creep down my spine. The idea of a powerful, malevolent force lurking in the shadows filled me with dread, but I also felt a growing determination. I had already faced my own demons in life. How much worse could it be here? Asmodai led me down a winding path carved into the cliffside, the air growing cooler as we descended. The flames faded to a dim glow, replaced by an eerie twilight that cast long shadows across the ground. As we reached the bottom, I was struck by the sight before me. A makeshift camp had been established amidst the rocks, a collection of tents made from tattered cloth and bones, with flickering fires providing the only light. Figures moved about, their faces obscured in the gloom, but I could see the weariness etched into their features. These were the souls who had been wronged, just like me. "Gather around," Asmodai called out, his voice cutting through the murmur of conversation. The inhabitants of the camp turned to face us, their expressions a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "We have a new recruit, a brave soul willing to fight for our cause." The crowd parted, and I felt their gazes upon me, probing and wary. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stand tall. "I'm here to help," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. A woman stepped forward, her eyes glinting like shards of ice. "And what can you possibly offer? You're just a lost soul, like the rest of us." "I may be lost, but I refuse to be broken," I replied, surprising myself with the conviction in my tone. "If we stand together, we can find a way out of this hell." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, and I felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this rebellion could be more than just a dream. Perhaps it could lead us to salvation. The days that followed were a blur of training and strategizing. Under Asmodai's guidance, I learned the ways of hell, how to navigate the treacherous landscape, how to harness the lingering energies of despair, and most importantly, how to channel our collective rage into a force for change. Each lesson was laced with pain and sacrifice, a reminder of the torment that surrounded us. The camp buzzed with activity as we prepared for our rebellion. Souls began to trickle in from the shadows, drawn by the whispers of hope and defiance. Each new arrival added strength to our cause, and I felt a sense of camaraderie with these lost souls. They were warriors in their own right, scarred by their pasts but unyielding in their desire for freedom. Yet, amidst the rising tide of rebellion, a sense of unease lingered in the air. Asmodai warned us to remain vigilant, for the Dark One was always watching. I found myself glancing over my shoulder, feeling the weight of unseen eyes upon me. The nightmares of hell were not confined to its inhabitants. They were all around us, lurking in the corners of our minds. One night, as we gathered around the fire, I took a moment to speak with the woman who had questioned my resolve. Her name was Mira, and her spirit burned bright even in the darkness of our surroundings. "Tell me your story," she urged, her voice gentle yet probing. "I was just an ordinary person," I began, the memories flooding back. "I lived a simple life, worked a boring job, and spent my days buried in numbers. I didn't believe in anything extraordinary until everything fell apart." "What happened?" she pressed, her eyes filled with empathy. "I lost everything in a single moment," I said, my voice cracking. "My family, my friends, they were all gone in a tragic accident. I was left alone, drowning in grief and guilt. It was then that I found myself in this place, and I thought I would be lost forever. Mira nodded, her expression softening. We all have our demons, our regrets, but here we can turn that pain into something powerful. We can rise above it. As I looked around the camp, I saw the flickering hope in the eyes of the other souls. They were united by their shared suffering, and it was a force that could not be easily extinguished. It was in that moment that I realized the true power of our rebellion lay not just in our desire for freedom, but in the bonds we forged in the fires of our pain. Days turned into weeks as we honed our skills and solidified our plans. We trained relentlessly, pushing ourselves to our limits. I learned to harness the energy of despair, to use it as fuel rather than a weight that dragged me down. Each victory, no matter how small, filled us with a sense of purpose. As the sun set on another grueling day, Asmodai called us together. The fire crackled, casting dancing shadows across the gathered souls. "Tonight, we make our stand," he declared, his voice resonating with power. "We will not cower in the darkness any longer. We will strike against the Dark One and reclaim our freedom." A roar of approval erupted from the crowd, a chorus of voices echoing through the night. It was a sound of determination, of rebellion rising from the depths of despair. "Tonight, we will infiltrate the Fortress of Shadows," Asmodai continued, gesturing toward the distant silhouette of a dark castle perched atop a jagged cliff. "It is a place of unimaginable power, and if we can seize it, we will turn the tide of this war." I felt a mix of excitement and fear. The fortress loomed like a beast waiting to be tamed, and I knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger. But as I looked around at the faces of my comrades, I felt a surge of courage. We were not just fighting for ourselves. We were fighting for all those who had suffered at the hands of the Dark One. Under the cover of darkness, we moved as one, a silent tide of lost souls marching toward the Fortress of Shadows. The path was treacherous, filled with jagged rocks and hidden pitfalls, but we pressed on, fueled by our collective determination. I could feel the tension in the air, a palpable energy that thrummed through our ranks. As we approached the fortress, the ground trembled beneath our feet, a warning of the dark power that resided within. The castle was an imposing structure, its spires reaching toward the heavens like skeletal fingers. Shadows flickered in the windows, and I could hear the distant echo of laughter, mocking, cruel laughter that sent chills down my spine. Asmodai led the way, his presence a beacon of strength amidst the encroaching darkness. "Stay close," he instructed, his voice low and steady. "Remember our training. We strike hard and fast, but we must be cautious. The Dark One has many eyes." We navigated the winding passages of the fortress, the air thick with the scent of brimstone and decay. My heart raced as we moved deeper into the belly of the beast, the walls pulsating with an energy that felt almost alive. I could hear whispers echoing through the halls, words that clawed at the edges of my sanity. "Stay focused," Mira whispered, her hand brushing against mine for reassurance. I met her gaze, and we shared a silent vow. We would not falter, we would not succumb to the horrors around us. We reached a massive door adorned with intricate carvings, symbols that twisted and writhed as if they were alive. This was it, the heart of the fortress, where the Dark One would be waiting. Asmodai raised his hand, and the door creaked open, revealing a chamber bathed in an eerie red light. The air crackled with tension as we stepped inside, and my breath caught in my throat at the sight before us. The Dark One sat upon a throne made of twisted iron and bone, his presence exuding an aura of malevolence. His skin shimmered like obsidian, and his eyes burned with an inner fire, piercing through the darkness like a lighthouse in a storm. A chilling smile crept across his lips as he surveyed us, his gaze lingering on each of my companions. "Foolish souls," he purred, his voice like honeyed venom. "You dare to challenge me in my own domain. You have no idea the power you face." The room seemed to pulse with his words, and I felt the weight of despair pressing down on me. But amidst the fear, a flame ignited within me, a determination that surged to the forefront of my mind. We were not powerless. We had come too far to turn back now. Asmodai stepped forward, his voice unwavering. "We have come to reclaim our freedom, Dark One. Your reign of terror ends tonight." The Dark One's laughter echoed through the chamber, a sound that reverberated in my bones. "You think you can defeat me? I am the embodiment of darkness, the harbinger of despair. You are nothing but whispers in the wind." As he spoke, shadows began to coalesce around him, swirling like a living storm. I could feel their cold touch, clawing at my sanity. The other souls shifted uneasily, fear creeping into their hearts. But I remembered our training. I remembered the power we had forged from our suffering. Drawing upon that energy, I raised my voice, channeling the collective strength of my comrades. We are not alone. Together, we are stronger than you could ever imagine. As I spoke, the shadows faltered and the energy in the room shifted. A flicker of uncertainty crossed the Dark One's face, and I seized the moment. Now, Asmodai shouted, and we charged forward, a wave of defiance crashing against the fortress of darkness. The air crackled with energy as we launched ourselves at the Dark One, our collective rage igniting the very fabric of the chamber. Shadows writhed around us, but we stood united, channeling our pain into a force of rebellion. I could feel the power of my comrades swelling around me, a torrent of raw emotion that surged through the air like lightning. The Dark One raised a hand, and a wave of shadows crashed against us, attempting to engulf us in despair. But as we fought back, our determination blazed brighter, and the shadows recoiled, losing their grip. I could hear the cries of my comrades, each voice a battle cry that pierced through the darkness. We pressed forward, a tide of hope and fury. I felt my heart pounding in my chest as I unleashed my own energy, sending it surging toward the Dark One. It collided with the shadows, illuminating the room in a brilliant flash of light. For a moment, I could see the fear in his eyes, a fleeting glimpse of vulnerability that ignited my resolve. "Feel the weight of your actions," I shouted, channeling every ounce of pain and suffering into my voice. "You've tormented us for too long. We will not be silenced any longer." Asmodai moved beside me, his presence a grounding force as we fought together. "Strike at the heart," he commanded, his voice resonating with power. "We must shatter his hold over this realm." The battle raged on, a cacophony of energy and chaos. I could see my comrades fighting with everything they had, their spirits intertwining to form a barrier against the onslaught of shadows. It was a beautiful sight, an army of lost souls rising up against their tormentor, refusing to be defined by their pasts. With each strike, we chipped away at the Dark One's power, forcing him to retreat. I could feel the energy shifting, the balance of power tilting in our favor, but he was not without his defenses. The shadows surged back, wrapping around us like a shroud, attempting to pull us into the abyss. I could hear the cries of my comrades, their fear echoing in the depths of my mind. It threatened to swallow me whole, to drag me back into despair. "No," I shouted, pushing against the darkness. "We are stronger than this." In that moment, a vision flashed before me, a memory of my life before hell, my family, my friends, the love we shared. I had lost them, but I had not lost the essence of who I was. I drew upon that memory, allowing it to fuel my strength. With a primal scream, I unleashed a wave of energy that cut through the shadows like a blade. It surged toward the Dark One, illuminating the chamber in a blinding light. The shadows recoiled, and I saw the fear etched on his face, a look of desperation as our combined strength threatened to overwhelm him. "No," he roared, his voice echoing through the chamber as he struggled to maintain his grip on the darkness. In that moment of weakness, Asmodai and I surged forward, our energy intertwining as we struck at the heart of his power. The chamber erupted in a brilliant explosion of light and sound, a cataclysmic clash of forces that reverberated throughout hell. The explosion sent shockwaves through the fortress of shadows, the walls trembling as the very fabric of hell began to unravel. I felt a surge of energy wash over me, a rush of adrenaline that fueled my determination. We were on the brink of victory, and I would not let it slip away. The Dark One staggered back, his form flickering as if it were made of smoke. "You think you can defeat me? I am eternal," he bellowed, his voice a mixture of rage and fear. But we had seen the cracks in his facade. We had tasted the power of our unity. "You are nothing without your shadows," I shouted, my voice ringing out like a battle cry. Asmodai stepped beside me, his presence a steadying force. "We are the architects of our own fate. We will reclaim what is rightfully ours." With that, we channeled our energy once more, focusing it into a singular force that surged toward the Dark One. It enveloped him, tearing at the very essence of his being. The shadows writhed in agony, their grip on the chamber weakening as we pushed against the darkness. The Dark One screamed, a sound that echoed through the fortress like a thunderclap. "You cannot escape your fate," he howled, but the power of our rebellion was too strong. We were no longer just lost souls. We were a collective force, fueled by our pain and our defiance. As the energy surged toward him, the room erupted in a brilliant flash of light. I felt the warmth envelop me, a cocoon of hope and strength that shielded me from the shadows. The Dark One thrashed against the onslaught, but the light consumed him, unraveling his very essence. In that moment, I understood the true nature of our rebellion. It was not just about escaping hell. It was about reclaiming our identities, our humanity. We were not defined by our suffering, but by our capacity to rise above it. The explosion reached its climax, a blinding light that filled the chamber and spilled out into the realms of hell. I felt the ground tremble beneath me, the very fabric of the fortress beginning to collapse. As the light enveloped us, I closed my eyes, surrendering to the energy that surged around me. And then, silence. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying on soft grass, the scent of wildflowers filling the air. I blinked against the brightness of the sun, a warmth that felt foreign and yet so familiar. I sat up, my heart racing as I took in my surroundings. I was no longer in hell. "Is this real?" I murmured, disbelief flooding my senses. "Yes, it is," a voice said from beside me. I turned to see Mira, her expression a mix of relief and joy. We did it. We broke free. Around us, I could see others, souls that had once been trapped in the depths of despair, now standing together in a vibrant meadow. The colors were impossibly bright, and the air hummed with life. It was a stark contrast to the darkness we had fought against. But the joy was tinged with uncertainty. "What happens now?" I asked, my heart heavy with the weight of what we had endured. Mira smiled, her eyes shining with hope. "Now we rebuild. We honor our pasts, but refuse to let them define us. We are no longer prisoners of our pain. We are survivors." As I stood among my comrades, a sense of belonging washed over me. I had fought for my freedom, not just for myself, but for all of us. Together, we had forged a path out of the darkness, and now we had the chance to create something beautiful. In that moment, I realized that my journey was far from over. While the scars of my past would always remain, they would no longer hold me captive. I was part of something greater now, a rebellion that had transcended the confines of hell. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow across the meadow, I took a deep breath, feeling the promise of a new beginning. We were no longer lost souls. We were warriors, united in our resilience. Together, we would rise, not just to survive, but to thrive in the light. In the weeks that followed our escape, we worked tirelessly to build a new life in this vibrant realm. It was a place of healing, where laughter echoed through the fields and hope blossomed like the wildflowers that surrounded us. Each day brought new challenges, but together we faced them head-on, our spirits unyielding. Mira became a close friend and ally, her fierce determination inspiring others. We formed a council of sorts, guiding our fellow survivors as we navigated the complexities of our new existence. We shared our stories, finding strength in our shared experiences, and the bonds we forged became a source of resilience. Yet, even in this newfound paradise, whispers of doubt lingered in the back of my mind. What if the Dark One was not truly defeated? What if he returned to reclaim his throne? I voiced my concerns to Mira one evening as we sat beneath a starlit sky. "Do you think he'll come back?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Mira considered my words, her expression thoughtful. "Perhaps, but we won't be unprepared. We've tasted freedom and we will fight to protect it. Our past has taught us the power of unity." As the days turned into months, we honed our skills, training in the art of combat and strategy. We learned to harness the energy of the realm around us, drawing upon the life force that pulsed through the earth. Our bodies grew stronger, our spirits even more so. But the shadows of our past still lingered, and I felt the weight of responsibility pressing on my shoulders. I had been part of the rebellion in hell, but what if the fight was not truly over? I could not shake the feeling that we were merely waiting for the next storm to hit. One fateful evening as we gathered for a council meeting, the air shifted, heavy with anticipation. A figure emerged from the shadows, a silhouette that sent a chill racing down my spine. It was Asmodai. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice steady despite the turmoil within. Asmodai stepped forward, his expression grave. "I have come with news that you must heed. The Dark One is not defeated. He has retreated, but he will return stronger than ever." Panic rippled through the gathered crowd, but I held my ground. "How do you know this?" I demanded. "The shadows whisper," Asmodai replied, his voice low and urgent. "They have felt his anger, his thirst for revenge. He will come for you, for all of us. You must prepare for his return." I exchanged worried glances with Mira and the others. The fear that had been lurking in the corners of my mind was now a palpable reality. "What do we do?" I asked, my heart racing. "We gather our strength, unite our forces, and prepare for the battle that lies ahead," Asmodai said, his eyes burning with intensity. "This time, we fight not just for ourselves, but for all souls who have suffered at his hands." As we rallied together, I could feel the weight of our pasts pressing down on us once more. But this time, we were ready. We were not the lost souls we had once been. We were warriors, fueled by our experiences and united in our resolve. In the weeks that followed Asmodai's revelation, we worked tirelessly to fortify our defenses and rally allies from the realms beyond. Word of our rebellion had spread, reaching the ears of those who had long suffered under the Dark One's reign. Together, we formed an alliance, a coalition of souls united in our fight for freedom. The camp we had established blossomed into a thriving community filled with laughter and hope. We trained relentlessly, honing our skills in combat and strategy, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. Every day, we grew stronger, not just in body, but in spirit. Mira and I led training sessions, teaching our fellow survivors to harness the energy of the realm and channel it into their abilities. We practiced combat drills, learning to fight as a cohesive unit rather than as individuals. Each member of our alliance brought unique skills, and together we became a formidable force. As we prepared for battle, I felt a sense of purpose coursing through me. I had once been lost in a world of numbers and despair, but now I stood among warriors, each of us shaped by our pain yet unbroken. We were no longer defined by our suffering. We were defined by our strength and resilience. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow across our camp, Asmodai gathered us together. "Tonight, we prepare for war," he said, his voice steady. "We must be ready when the Dark One comes for us. We will meet him on the battlefield, and we will show him that we will not be cowed into submission." The air buzzed with anticipation as we stood shoulder to shoulder, our hearts beating as one. I looked around at my comrades, lost souls who had become my family. We had fought together, bled together, and now we would stand together against the darkness. As night fell, we set to work preparing our defenses. We forged weapons from the remnants of the fortress we had escaped, using the very materials that had once held us captive. Our hands were blistered and sore, but our spirits remained unyielding. Days turned into nights, and we honed our strategies, planning our assault with meticulous precision. The Dark One would not catch us unprepared again. We were determined to face him with the fury of 1,000 storms. As the final days of preparation approached, an air of tension settled over our camp. We had trained relentlessly, but the uncertainty of what lay ahead gnawed at the edges of our resolve. Each of us carried the weight of our pasts, and the specter of the Dark One loomed large in our minds. I often found myself wandering through the fields, seeking solace in the beauty of our surroundings. The vibrant colors of the flowers reminded me of the life we were fighting for, a stark contrast to the darkness we had faced. But the tranquility was often shattered by thoughts of the impending battle. One evening as I sat by a stream, Mira joined me, her expression contemplative. "What's on your mind?" she asked, her voice gentle. I sighed, staring at the water as it danced over the stones. "I can't shake the feeling that we're not ready. What if we fail? What if we lose everything again?" Mira placed a hand on my shoulder, her touch grounding me. "We have come so far. We've faced our demons and emerged stronger. Remember that we are not alone in this fight. We have each other, and we will not back down." Her words resonated within me, a reminder of the strength we had forged together. "You're right," I said, a spark of determination igniting within me. "We've faced darkness before, and we've overcome it. We will do it again." As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue across the fields, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. We had built something beautiful in the wake of our suffering, and I would fight to protect it. The following day, we gathered for one last council meeting. The mood was somber but resolute as we discussed our final plans. Asmodai stood at the head of the gathering, his presence commanding. "The Dark One will come for us, and we will meet him head-on," he declared. "We will not be afraid, for we are the architects of our own destiny." The roar of approval that erupted from our ranks sent a thrill of energy through me. We were warriors, united in our cause, and we would face whatever challenges lay ahead together. As night fell, we took our positions, each of us in the designated spots around our encampment. I could feel the tension in the air, a charged energy that pulsed through our bodies. We had prepared for this moment, and we would not shy away from it. The night wore on and the air grew thick with anticipation. The stars twinkled above us, a reminder of the beauty we were fighting to protect. But as the moon rose high in the sky, the tranquility was shattered by a low rumble that echoed through the land. I stood at the edge of the camp, my heart racing as the shadows began to coalesce in the distance. A dark mass was forming, moving toward us like a storm. The Dark One was coming. "Ready yourselves," Asmodai shouted, his voice ringing out above the growing chaos. "This is it." The camp erupted into a flurry of movement as we took our positions, hearts pounding in unison. I could feel the adrenaline coursing through me, a fierce determination igniting my spirit. We had faced despair before, and we would not let it consume us again. The shadows advanced, swirling around the battlefield like a living entity. I could hear the whispers of the damned, their voices echoing in the depths of my mind. But I steeled myself against their pull. I was no longer a lost soul. I was a warrior, and I would not falter. The Dark One emerged from the darkness, his form towering and menacing. His eyes glowed with an inner fire, a malevolence that sent chills racing down my spine. "Foolish souls," he bellowed, his voice booming like thunder. "You dare to challenge me again? You will pay for your insolence." We stood united, our ranks solid, defiance burning in our hearts. Asmodai stepped forward, his gaze unwavering. "We will not bow to you any longer, Dark One. We are here to reclaim our freedom." With that, we surged forward as one, a wave of determination crashing against the darkness. The air crackled with energy as our collective power collided with the shadows, a battle of light against dark. The Dark One raised his hands, summoning the shadows to his aid. They twisted and writhed around him, attempting to ensnare us in their grip. I felt the cold tendrils reach for me, but I pushed back, drawing upon the strength of my comrades. "Together," I shouted, channeling our energy into a singular force. "We are stronger than you." The shadows recoiled, and I could see the flicker of fear in the Dark One's eyes. It fueled my resolve as we pressed on, each of us harnessing the energy of our pasts, transforming our pain into a weapon against him. The battlefield became a cacophony of chaos and determination as we clashed against the Dark One and his minions. The air was thick with energy, crackling with the force of our collective rebellion. Each strike we made resonated with the weight of our shared suffering, fueling our resolve to break free from the shackles of despair. The Dark One fought back fiercely, his shadows swirling around him like a storm. They lashed out at us, but we stood firm, united in our defiance. I could feel the presence of my comrades beside me, their spirits intertwining with mine, a tapestry of strength woven from our shared pain. "Focus," Asmodai shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Aim for his heart. We must sever his connection to the darkness." With renewed determination, I surged forward, channeling the energy within me. I drew upon the memories of my loved ones, the joy and the love that had once filled my life. It was a powerful force that propelled me forward, a beacon of hope amidst the encroaching shadows. We struck together, our combined energy illuminating the darkness as we fought against the Dark One. Each blow was a testament to our resilience, a refusal to be defined by our pasts. The air shimmered with our power, a swirling tempest of light and determination that clashed against the shadows. The Dark One roared in fury, his voice echoing through the battlefield like thunder. "You think you can defeat me? I am eternal. I will never be vanquished." But we pressed on, our resolve unyielding. "You are not eternal," I shouted back, my voice filled with conviction. "You are a manifestation of our pain, and we will not allow you to control us any longer." With that declaration, we focused our energy into a singular point. A beam of light that surged toward the Dark One. It pierced through the shadows, illuminating the battlefield in a blinding brilliance. The Dark One staggered back, his form flickering as the light consumed him. "No," he screamed, the sound a mix of rage and despair. "You cannot do this. I will not be defeated." But the tide had turned. We had transformed our pain into power, and the shadows began to unravel around him. The battlefield was a whirlwind of energy as our collective strength surged forward, driving him back. In that moment of vulnerability, I seized the opportunity. I gathered all my energy, all my memories of love and loss, and I poured it into the light. "For all of us," I shouted, unleashing the surge of power that had been building within me. The light exploded from my hands, a brilliant flash that enveloped the Dark One. The shadows screamed in agony, unraveling before our eyes as the light consumed the darkness. For a moment, the world stood still, the very fabric of reality trembling in the wake of our rebellion. And then, silence. As the light faded and the shadows receded, I found myself standing on the battlefield, my heart pounding in my chest. The air was still, the silence deafening as we surveyed the remnants of the chaos. The Dark One was gone, his form dissipating into the ether as the shadows were banished from our realm. A wave of relief washed over me, mingling with the exhaustion that settled in my bones. We had fought valiantly, and against all odds we had prevailed. The weight of despair that had hung over us for so long was lifted, replaced by a sense of liberation. As I turned to my comrades, I saw the joy and relief mirrored in their faces. We had done the impossible. We had faced the Dark One and emerged victorious. The bonds we had forged in the fires of our pain had transformed into a tapestry of strength, and we were no longer lost souls. We were warriors. Together, Asmodai said, his voice filled with pride, "We have shattered the chains that bound us. We have reclaimed our freedom." The cheers that erupted from our ranks echoed through the air, a symphony of hope that filled the empty spaces of our hearts. We had fought for each other, and now we would rebuild, creating a world where darkness would no longer hold sway. As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and pink, I felt a sense of peace settle within me. The sun bathed the battlefield in warmth, and for the first time in a long while, I felt the weight of my past begin to lift. "We will honor our pasts," Mira said, standing beside me, her gaze fixed on the rising sun. "But we will not let them define us. We are the architects of our own destiny, and we will build a brighter future." With those words, I felt a surge of determination welling up inside me. We would forge a new path, one marked by hope and resilience. The journey ahead would not be easy, but we would face it together, hand in hand, as a united force. And so, we began to move forward, stepping into the light of a new era. We had emerged from the shadows, and now we would bask in the brilliance of the sun, ready to create a world where darkness would no longer reign. Together, we would rise, not just to survive but to thrive, and our story would be one of triumph, a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who refuse to be defined by their pain.